Welcome to Fayette County Public Library Storytime. Our first story today is The Tyrannosaurus Game. The story has a lot of children in it. They're all looking out the window. It's raining out. School is so boring. Why don't you all play a game? Can't we do something fun? I know. I'll start a story and pass it on to Ava. And I'll pass it on to Susan. And I'll pass it on to Roberta. And the story will keep going to me and me and me and me and me and me and me. And I'll end it. So Jimmy started. Last Saturday I was eating breakfast when all of a sudden a Tyrannosaurus came crashing through the window. And Ava said, I went over to Jimmy's house and there was a Tyrannosaurus at the table. It was eating up all the eggs and making a mess. And Susan said, I was on my way to soccer practice and I heard a roar from Jimmy's house. I ran across the street and Jimmy and Ava were pushing a big Tyrannosaurus. Suddenly the Tyrannosaurus sneezed and we were all blown out the door. And Roberto said, I was waiting for the bus when Jimmy and Ava and Susan and a Tyrannosaurus came flying onto the street. And Rusty said, I was on the bus and Jimmy and Ava and Susan and Roberto and a Tyrannosaurus squeezed in. Everyone started yelling. And Benjamin said, I was sitting on the seesaw at the playground and Jimmy and Ava and Susan and Roberto and Rusty came flying out of the bus with a Tyrannosaurus. They plopped down on the other end of the seesaw. I flew into the air and landed on the Tyrannosaurus's tail. And Jasmine said, I was on a swing and Roberto and Ava and all my friends came dashing by with a Tyrannosaurus. And I jumped off and ran after them. And Emily said, I was starting my motorcycle near the playground when out raced Ava and Benjamin and Rusty and Jimmy and Susan and Roberto and Jasmine and a Tyrannosaurus. And they all jumped on behind me, and we took off for the amusement park. Now that's interesting. That really makes me think this is make-believe, huh? How could all of that be on that little bitty motorcycle? And Rachel said, I was walking my dog when all the kids from school raced into the amusement park with a Tyrannosaurus. I ran in after them, and my dog came too. And Sophie said, can't turn the page. I was on the roller coaster and turned around, and there was a Tyrannosaurus with Jimmy and Ava and Susan and Roberto and Rusty and Benjamin and Jasmine and Emily and Rachel's dog. And Tommy said, I was on the merry-go-round and a Tyrannosaurus came charging past with all my friends. It knocked over the man who takes the tickets and ran away. And Jason said, and then the cops came and looked all over the city, but the Tyrannosaurus was gone. They're everywhere looking for him. Wow. can't find him. How can something that big disappear? Do you see him? There he is. Okay, Miss Lisa, what do you have for us?
All right, boys and girls, I have another really cool story for you today about kids in school using their imagination. Wasn't that a cool book on how they used their imagination and went around the circle and told a story? So this story is called My New Teacher and Me. Right, take a look at him. Does he look like he's headed off to school? Let's find out what happens to him. All right, My New Teacher and Me. Looks like he's just been dropped off the school bus. He's headed into class. The first day of school, it was finally here. I wondered who would be my new teacher this year. There's nobody in the teacher's desk yet, is there? Who could it be? At 8:30 sharp, a tall stranger walked in. He stood by the chalkboard and stroked his long chin. He said, "I'm Mr. Booth, and I'm happy to say I'll be teaching you about fractions today. Now open your textbooks to page number 3. And that's when he stopped and stared right at me. He said, "You, young man, why's that filth on your shirt? You can't come in my classroom all covered with dirt." And I said, "Hi, nice to meet you, sir. Billy's the name. See, a funny thing happened before the school bus came." You think he's about to tell a story? Let's see what he says. "I was digging to China out in my backyard, and I almost was there when I hit something hard. Well, I dug and I dug and I dug a bit more and discovered the skull of a real dinosaur." Look at that, boys and girls. Look at him dig, 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 dig. This is why he has dirt on his shirt. And he found a dinosaur skull. "And I would have cleaned up, sir, but hey, I'm no fool. I just couldn't be late on the first day of school." I hope you picked up by now that this is a rhyming book. Let's see what else he says. For a second or two, Mr. Booth kind of froze. And then he walked up to me and he looked down his nose. "I don't tolerate nonsense, no, not to 1 degree. Your story sounds highly unlikely to me." He's getting a scolding on the first day of school, isn't he? "Why, of course it's unlikely," I said. "Oh, by far, the awesomest things in this world often are." So the little boy saying things that are unlikely are the ones that are the most awesome. Let's see what else he has to say. "For instance, this friend of my third cousin Ned got a farm where the dairy cows each have 2 heads." Look at that. There's some more back there. "That's so highly unlikely the tourists all stop just to take their own pictures at $3 a pop." Pretty cool. "That's completely ridiculous," sneered Mr. Booth. "Please stop wasting our time and just stick to the truth." "Well, the truth can seem crazy, like that last day in June when my grandfather famously walked on the moon." Look, there's his granddad. You think that's true? "And he played the ukulele while flying a kite. It was all in the papers. You've heard about it, right? You know what? My grandfather even implied that someday he might take me along just for the ride. Look at him up there on the moon. He's even got a camper. He's hanging out barefoot, playing the ukulele. Pretty unlikely, don't you think?" The class started cheering, take us too." Then Mr. Booth bristled and snapped, "That will do. This is pure poppycock. Class, please be quiet and be still. He is not going off to the moon, and he never will. That's right, I told him. The moon is okay, but I've been to a much cooler place anyway. Uh-oh, where do you think he's been, boys and girls? What's cooler than going to the moon? I just went on a vacation with my dad and my mom to an island somewhere between Norway and Guam. It's a large piece of land there, where the blueberry muffins grow right on the trees, and you'll flip inside out every time that you sneeze, and all the rabbits say moo, and the poodles go neigh, and the traffic light colors are pink, blue, and gray. Now wouldn't that be something, boys and girls? You go out tomorrow, and you're on the road, and you see pink, blue, and gray. How awesome would that be? Or yeah, your dog starts to neigh. Pretty good using his imagination. Oh, look at this page. Oh, and every third Thursday about 1:30, all the gravity stops. Oh, wow, that is fun. There's a squid eating contest, and hey, if you win it, they'll let you be king for exactly 1 minute. Then everybody does what you tell them to do. Man, I sure hope that we get to go back there next year too. Look at that, he got to be king for a day. There's no gravity, he's eating squid. Look at this guy. Would you want to go see that as a ballerina? Oh my goodness. Look at this guy's got a smile on his tummy. Really using lots of imagination. All right, let's see what else he says. Mr. Booth didn't care for that story one bit. He furrowed his brow and he said, okay, that is it. Admit that your stories are simply absurd. I just do not believe them, not one single word. Oh, poor little guy, being yelled at on the first day of school. Then I cleared my throat and I said, well, sir, you know, just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not so. Just because you can't imagine it, that doesn't mean that it simply can't be or won't ever be seen. I'll bet every great thinker and leader we've got could see all kinds of things that others could not. So then why get upset if somebody like me tries to look at the world just a little bit differently? Take a look, boys and girls. Every really cool invention that's ever been made was some great thinker who used their imagination. Enough, Mr. Booth said. No more of these stunts. You will march straight to the principal's office at once. Something slipped from my book as I walked to the door, and Mr. Booth picked it up. Boys and girls, what slipped out of his backpack? Then his jaw hit the floor. It was me and a cow with not one head but two. Oh, I said, I was planning to give that to you. It's a little good luck gift, and I got it for free. He stared hard at the photo, and then he looked back at me. So look, he has a picture of him with that two-headed cow. He's being sent to the principal's office, isn't he? I avoided the principal's office that day. In fact, old Mr. Booth put my gift on display. He steals a quick glance at it once in a while, and I'm not even kidding. Once I even saw him smile. We should get along just fine, and it's certainly clear that there's a lot that we'll be teaching each other this year. That's how all of my stories are perfectly true. Well, except for maybe just a detail or two. Take a look at his bedroom, boys and girls. He uses his imagination for all kinds of things. All right. And there at the end, what's he doing? After school, he's pulling that dinosaur skull he found. as he was digging his way to China. Well, boys and girls, I've got some pictures I want to show you today that I think we could use for our own imagination and our own imaginative stories. Look at this one, boys and girls. How many of you have ever dreamed about going to the moon? Maybe even meeting an alien? Can you think of a story that you could tell about that picture? Here's another sort of spacey one. It's the sun that's green. The sky is all green. Isn't that weird? Can you have a story about that? About where you could go somewhere where it's all green? All right, here's another really good one. Maybe in your imagination, you can come up with a spaghetti monster. Look at those big eyeballs and those teeth and all that spaghetti and meatball. Maybe he could even fly. In your imagination, you can think of anything. Here's one that was sort of in the story, wasn't it? Except instead of 2 heads, this guy's got 3. Use your imagination and come up with a story. Here's another one that was in the story. Remember this? Remember that boy in the story was a king for the day, where he got to tell everybody what to do. Have you guys ever daydreamed about that? Or maybe you're the ruler of the world and you tell people what to do? Here he is in his throne with a crown on his head and ready to be a ruler. Here's sort of a fun one that's been in both of our stories today. Have you ever dreamt that you could play with dinosaurs? Look, they're sliding down his tail. How fun would that be? Here's a couple other pictures I want to show you. Can you use your imagination for this picture? Well, probably not. You can't see it. Let's put it up here. All right. Boys and girls, when you're little, I know it was always a dream of mine. I can't wait till I drive a car. What if you could get a car that was just your size? Wouldn't that be fun? You could go riding on the road. Maybe you want to be a jungle explorer. Look at that picture. Can you write a story about that or tell me something that could happen in the jungle? Meeting a leopard. Look at his nails. These guys are not even paying attention to him. All right, couple more. What if you could actually be sitting in a pile of money? Wouldn't that be fun, boys and girls? Look at that kid. Wouldn't that be fun to have all that money and then you could buy whatever you want? Use your imagination and think what you would do with all that. Here's a cool one, boys and girls. Could you make a castle of sand that was big enough for you to live in? Wow, look how big that is. Wouldn't you like just to be able to lift those gates and go on inside there and see what's inside that castle? Couldn't you write a really cool story about that? Couple more. What about this really weird car? Look how fast that car's going. And look, he looks like a dragon. He's got a big shining light for his eye and big tail coming out the back. What kind of stories could you write about that? I know some teachers like to give you a picture and you write a story. That would be a fun one to write a story about. And here's our last one. Anybody ever dream that you have a pet? Maybe a singing lizard that could play the piano? That would be a fun story to write too, wouldn't you think? Boys and girls, look at all these pictures. Which one do you think you could write a story about? Maybe after you finish watching this today, you could go and tell your mom and dad a story. Use your imagination. Be creative, boys and girls. It's always fun to be able to come up and create and come up with new ideas. So here's just a few that I thought you might like. Miss Kim, what else do you have for us today?
One more story, maybe 2. We'll see how much time we have. Little, big. Little boy, big giraffe. I am little. Look at him. He has a dinosaur in his hand too. We've had a lot of dinosaurs in our stories today. I try to be big. Look at him here. He's got a pencil in his ear and he's reading a book. Over here he has gloves on his hands like he's going to work. but it never works. Turned out to be a mess, didn't it? Poor little guy. Little legs, little hands, little mouth. If I had big legs like a giraffe, I could race my brother up the hill and win. That looks kind of fun. But I wouldn't be able to ride in the wagon. That kind of changes things a little bit, doesn't it? Which would you rather ride, a giraffe or a wagon? If I had big hands like a gorilla, I could open the cookie jar and take as many cookies as I wanted. Nope. But I wouldn't be able to eat them in my playhouse. Nope, if he was as big as a gorilla, he wouldn't fit in there, would he? If I had a big mouth like a crocodile, I could tell my big brother to go to bed early. But who would tell me funny stories after dinner? If I was big like a monster, I could run, little legs. Hold on tight, little hands. Not a sound, little mouth. Feels like I missed a page.
Yeah, what was he doing from the monster?
Oh, I think he saw his shadow on the wall. Okay. I am little. Now see, on this page, boys and girls, we have all those big things he thought about. He could be as big as all those. But he said, I am little. Oh, this is awful. Oh. See what's happening? His brother's in that big monster suit now, and he's running after him. Little legs, little hands, little mouth, perfectly little. You see, he's in the wagon again, and his brother is taking him places. I think he likes that part of it. Perfectly little. Well, looks like we have time for one more story.
Goody. I like
That's what makes a hippopotamus smile. I don't know if I'd want to try. But anyway, that's what makes a hippopotamus smile. Let's see. Can you think of some things that maybe might make a hippopotamus smile? When a hippopotamus comes round to your house, don't be worried or scared by his size. Just hug him and open the door very wide, because that's what makes a hippopotamus smile. That's what makes a hippopotamus come inside. And when a hippopotamus wants to play a game, don't make it quiet, clean, or dry. Choose something splishy, splashy, and splashy. Because, can you guess why? That's what makes a hippopotamus happy. When you and the hippo need cleaning up, remember that hippos love a good wash. So share silly toys in a big, warm bath. Because, they've got all the rubber duckies out. Even have a frog in there. That looks like a real one.
Because that's what makes a hippo happy, right?
Because that's what makes a hippopotamus laugh. I think he might be tickling him as he washes him and it makes him laugh. And after that, you'll both be hungry. But don't eat popcorn, cookies, or chips. Have a great big crunchy salad treat. Because, I wonder why. That's what a hippopotamus loves to eat. And when the hippo has to go home, try not to be sad, even if you are. Do a little dance. Say goodbye in style. Because that's what makes a hippopotamus smile. He's waving goodbye too. I think that's 2 pages. Yeah. Then when the hippo thinks about you and of all the fun the two of you had, he'll know that you're his best new friend. And that's what makes a hippopotamus come round again. Though maybe not just on his own. Now, why do you think all those other animals would want to come? Just maybe, the hippopotamus went back to the zoo or wherever he came from, maybe the jungle, and told all of his animal friends about the fun that he had at the little boy's house or little girl's house. And they wanted to go too. They thought that might help them have a fun day. So that's what happens. That's how you make a hippopotamus smile. Well, we hope you enjoyed the stories today. We trust you're having a great day. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.